All right, I got Buck Showalter here. Perfect guy for the job, and I'm going to get to talk about one of my favorite players. So something I love to do, which is probably weird to the people back home, is I like to go on the websites, whether it be YouTube or old draft video, and I want to know what Corey Seager looked like back in 2012 when the Dodgers were drafting him, and kind of make what I believe my mock drafts, my evaluations.
Not knowing how they're going to turn out.
Not knowing how they're going to turn out, and try and figure out why these decisions are made, the projectability. I'm sure you've had eyeballs on multiple first-round picks that your teams have taken over the years. But let's first dive in, because he's obviously healthy, and he's playing for a huge contract, and he probably sent a DM to Francisco Lindor and said, thank you very much, 10 for 341. I'm going to probably fall in right behind that at some point. He burst on the scene as a 20-year-old in Dodger Stadium and took over that shortstop position. They ended up moving Jimmy Rollins for Zach Eflin, and that kind of worked all that and got him out of there. And then Corey took over, and he's kind of dealt with throughout his career. And you watch that. If you back that up, timeout, pause that, back that up. All the way. Because he beats Ramon Laureano, a good center fielder. Run this. I mean, it looks like a line drive to center field with the bases loaded, and it completely beats him. So I want to bring up the first board, because he's dealt with kind of a myriad of injuries over the course of his career. He had Tommy John. He dealt with a hip problem. And you take a look at it when he burst on the scene 15 through 17, 305, 374 on base, kind of that 876 OPS. And then you look, damaged goods, right? Trying to get out on a field. You are what the back of your card says you are. People don't want to hear you talking about your hips maybe a little tight. Boom. And he struggles a little bit, and what does he do? Gets back and just kills it last year. So he got drafted in 2012. Now let's get into Correa. And then pause this, because I want to set the scene. Pause it real quick. This is a perfect game tournament. And I wanted to pick Buck's brain of what goes on in these draft rooms, right? Because here's Carlos Correa, went 1-1. He was the first pick. So run this. You're seeing Carlos Correa, who's turned into an absolute beast, a World Series champion, a leader in the clubhouse, a leader in the community, everything you could have wanted with your first pick. Now, 11th overall, we get Addison Russell, goes to Oakland. Wiry, fast twitch, kind of a different animal than Carlos Correa. And then the Dodgers, pause this. Dodgers are picking 18th overall, and this falls to them?
Yeah.
He looks exactly the same now in a Dodgers uniform. Run this. This is Corey Seager in high school, people. I would have drafted him too. Maybe 1-1 over Correa. Kind of whatever you want to think about that. But, Buck, you go into these rooms, I love watching this old video and kind of, what are you looking for? I know for me, what kind of jumps off, just the ability to make the game look easy.
I don't want to make
pause this.
I don't want to make it too deep, but
don't go to, yeah.
I say to myself, okay, and scouts, you go to a ballpark and you get rained out, what are you going to say about him? Okay, first of all, he's got a great face. That doesn't mean he's handsome and all the other stuff. His mom, dad, he is handsome, whatever. It's just there's a certain projection to his face. He's got alert eyes. He sees peripheral. There's a lot of things, you're trying to project the body. You're looking at the mom and dad and seeing, maybe a brother or sister.
He's so different than Kyle,
yeah.
right?
But, there's some great shortstops that are going to be available this offseason. I'm not so sure he's not the most trustworthy with a contract. I don't know. And you're not going to make a bad decision. But this guy's got a lot of his injuries and his stuff behind him. And I don't know. You go in there, scout go, yeah, no kidding. I mean, this guy jumped. This is not scouting 101. That's why they go in the first round. The real scouting's done, after the 10th round. Right. All these guys at this thing, for the most part, you're talking about all the first round picks. Yeah, this is pretty easy compared to what goes on after the 10th round.
It's funny, though. I go back, and I've watched years and years and years of draft video. I always go back to Corey Seager as one of the best looking high school shortstop.
That's when I saw.
I look nothing like that.
That's when I saw about 4 or 5 years ago, 6 years ago. You can tell me, Buxton. I saw him at a workout in Sarasota. They had all these guys there, and I asked our scouting director. I said, what's he doing here? Well, he's going to be in. I said, no, he ain't going to be around when we pick. Trust me, this guy don't need to be here. He can go home.
All right, so dive in. So what does he become, right? He becomes the Dodgers shortstop, and everybody's wondering, is he going to eventually have to move to third base? Can he play short? And he's firmly healthy last year, and in 2020, with the world watching and nobody in the stands, he decides during the postseason that he's going to say, hey, everyone, get to know number 5 in white because I'm going to win the MVP. I'm going to hit 8 jacks, and I'm going to do it very stoically and very quietly and go about my business. Run this board up here. One thing that's impressive about him, and we chronicled this because I don't totally love it, he is ultra aggressive. Highest in-zone swing percentage since 2020. If you watch Jeff McNeil play on opening day, first 3 pitches he saw, he hacked at. And he was 0 for 3. Boom, he hit the ball on the screws a couple times. Seager, these are some of your more ultra-aggressive type hitters.
You know, people talk about hitting and how difficult it is, but you can't take until you hit. So many people talk about he needs a better on-base percentage. He needs to walk more. Every one of these guys hit until they take. It's hit, and then they take.
Yeah, exactly. I tell the young kids, the 11U team, I'm like, it's yes, no. It's
Can't
not
be the other way.
no, yes. Then you're beat.
You're also going to wear out the first base dugout.
This is interesting, though, because Freddie Freeman, talking to him about the way he goes about it, Buck, he doesn't hunt pitch. He doesn't hunt quadrant. He sits middle of the plate, and he feels like he'll recognize it and hit a bullet over the shortstop's head. So you look at Corey Seager, highest swing percentage on pitches down the middle since 2020. I mean, this is a guy that sits middle, hunts it. I don't think he necessarily is discriminating between fastball, curveball, slider, change.
You know what jumps out at me from a manager standpoint when I see these guys? Who do you turn loose 3-0? Who do you don't? You turn every one of these guys loose 3-0.
Every one of them.
Because they're going to square up in the middle of the zone.
All right. One thing, dive back in, S-Rod. I think for me, the thing that I noticed, and we're going to look at pitches, 89 left on left, bottom 5, 2-2, little 89 rinky-dink middle cut, and he doesn't wait around. That's what I'm saying. If he gets that meatball percentage, he is going to the street with it. And I think for me, pause this, take it back to right at the beginning. And what I want to focus on is this when he kind of had a little bit of a down year, right? Watch how much movement he's trying to create with his lower half as opposed to 2020. I mean, we got a toe tap. We're creating a lot of stride, getting into our lower half. Why is that? I mean, this guy's dealt with hip problems. He's dealt with a myriad of injuries. He's healthy, people. He's got his legs under him. He was able to prepare during the pandemic. He probably had way more time off to work on his body and his swing, and he is 100% locked in. Look at the choke up, too. One of my favorite players in the game, Buck. Just does it the right way. And I think the reason he's going to get absolutely broke off, and he'll probably be mad at me for saying this, but he could probably sign a 10-year deal and play the first 7 at short and play the next 3 at third, and I don't think you'd miss a beat.
Yeah, when you start talking about committing those type of numbers, you know, you got to ask yourself, is it a good business decision and is it a good baseball decision? Because those are 2 different decisions.